Good afternoon, everybody. It's
Testing. Okay, mic should be live now. How's the volume, fellas? Is the volume okay? Can you guys hear me? Is the music too loud? Is it everything's good? We're good to go? All right. It's good to hear. So welcome to Shitcoin Church. It has been a while. We are at a crossroads right now. Yeah, we've got the Skeller Night Drive playlist, old favorite of mine, classic. Kind of at a crossroads right now. You know, this crypto stuff really could go either way here. You know, I see Bitcoin as really being a barometer of the health of the crypto market at large. You know, and Bitcoin is at this inflection point. Oh, turn the music up. Okay. Yeah, we can definitely manage that. Let me see if I can get a link to the playlist first. There's the playlist. I posted it in chat. I'm not quite sure if it will come up or not. Sometimes, you know, YouTube filters that shit out. Larry Lowell says, can I check out the tokamak chart? Is it a new DeFi primitive? To answer the second part of your question, yes. But with things like that, it's really difficult to chart. I mean, there's just not that much history. So of course today, you know, the big news is this big infrastructure bill has passed the Senate with the votes it needed to. It's going to go to the House now. You know, of course, there's some bad news for crypto in there. It does look like that the House of Representatives is trying to do the right thing and trying to make sure that, you know, when this actually does go through, if it does go through, there's proper language in there. Let's see. I had this pulled up somewhere. So basically, the House, Nancy Pelosi has said, and 100 members of the Progressive Caucus have said that they will not even vote on this infrastructure package until the Senate passes a separate, even more ambitious $3.5 trillion social policy bill this fall. So there's a lot of hurdles, you know, that need to be jumped before this can actually be a real thing. And even if this is a real thing, we still have time before this goes into effect. We still have time for those exit pumps. We still have time for some action. So, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say that this is like the end, you know, of everything. There's a lot of money in crypto, a lot of interest in crypto. If the wrong decisions are made, if the wrong things do get passed through, you know, I'm sure something will be done about it. And just something to remember too, guys. You know, we're getting a lot of like big voices in crypto and stuff. Like the innovation's super obvious. The United States doesn't want to lose out. somehow, some way, like whenever crypto finds itself in a situation like this, it always manages to come out of it. It always manages to come out, the grass is greener on the other side. The main thing here is that if we get this regulatory clarity and, we can build within an established framework, everything should be a-okay. So I've been waiting for a little bit to buy heavy into DeFi. I did that yesterday. My entry condition was Bitcoin reclaiming its yearly volume weighted average price. It has done that. Of course, a bit of a dip today on the back of this Senate bill passing, but we are holding that yearly volume weighted average price, which is what I want to see. If we do manage to lose that yearly volume weighted average price, I am going to be looking for some kind of retracement on this, and I'll probably bail on most of these DeFi positions. But what I see right here is DeFi is a sector that hasn't gotten a rotation in a while. It's largely been forgotten. Yield interest rates are rising in DeFi, which is a really good leading indicator, I feel like, of potential incoming DeFi activity. A lot of these DeFi projects are down 70, 80, 90%, which if you look at the drawdown from DeFi summer, that was about all we got. Now, one of the interesting things about the DeFi sector is, we didn't catch that retail mania rotation. We didn't get that influx of capital then. It all kind of went to shitcoins, Doge, Shiba Inu, Binance Smart Chain, things like that. So DeFi really kind of, for the most part, topped out in early February. So really, we're looking at almost 6 months of pretty much across the board, bear market for DeFi. And that's a pretty significant period of time. I don't feel like anybody's talking about DeFi right now. I don't feel like DeFi has ever reached its full potential. And I do think that there's value to buy. Then again, Bitcoin is the master of this market, and I think that was proven to us in May when everybody felt indestructible. Bitcoin dumped, and it kind of took everything with it. So just a comment about that, of course, if you look at the TA in retrospect, you had those 3 drives, you had that rising wedge that broke down. The complacency leg was the throwback to the rising wedge. But interestingly enough, I feel like that 50%, fast aggressive drawdown in Bitcoin was more of a black swan in crypto. We had all of this clean energy FUD for Bitcoin. We had all of this FUD coming out of China. And the irony here is that, in crypto, we've been taught to ignore any kind of FUD that comes out of China. It always ends up being a joke. It always ends up being bullshit. Except for this time, it was real, right? China kind of actually did ban Bitcoin, which is super sketch. But here we are, this astounding recovery. I got to be honest, I did not see this coming. I thought we were going to go lower. We still might go lower. There's some scary fractals that people have been posting from 2019 and things like that. But for me, mainly I'm looking at this situation to where we had these, we have these DeFi charts, right? And these DeFi charts, a lot of them, when you look at them on a logarithmic scale and you look at these long-term trends, these DeFi charts look pretty good here, and not taking into account, and this is something, it's difficult to get out of this headspace, when there's so much that can go wrong, right? There's always a lot that can go wrong. But right now, it's more of just, hey, I'm looking at these longer term DeFi charts. They look really good. When you look at some of the players that have been in the space for a while, we're talking Bancor, we're talking Aave, we're talking Synthetics, we're talking Rune, Thorchain. We're talking a lot of stuff like that. You're looking at these players that have been established in the space for a while. And the charts look good, and I do feel like some of those blue chips are a great indication of the overall health of the DeFi space in general. Now, you know, if we were to have some kind of big nuke on Bitcoin or whatever from here, it would absolutely break down all these DeFi charts, unless somehow, some way, DeFi manages to rally when Bitcoin is tanking. That's not something that I see happening, but you know, it's definitely a possibility. Messi, how much did I make on my ape? I haven't sold my ape yet. You know, I listed it for 133.7 ETH. It was a gift from a friend, so I'm not that interested in selling it. But if somebody wants to give me 130 ETH for an ape, by all means, be my fucking guest. You know, like, how can I say no to that? Like, that'd be fucking ridiculous. Thoughts on dog money? But here's the thing about just retail participation in crypto. You know, every time in crypto the retail's shown up and gotten wrecked, it takes a while for those things to recover. Of course, you know, we are seeing some reasonable bounces on things like Dogecoin and these different dog money projects or whatever. But I do think that retail is probably a bit, new retail is probably a bit spooked on this crypto scene, at least for a bit, at least until we have another mania. Now, what kicks off that mania is still up in the air. You know, is it going to be Bitcoin reaching new all-time highs? Is it going to be Ethereum going fucking crazy from here? I'm really not fucking sure, to be honest. But let's look at some charts. You know, I can show you guys a couple of things. Give me just a second, actually. Hold on. All right, sorry about that. So let's look at some charts. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about by these long-term log channels, these long-term trends these DeFi coins have established, and I'll kind of explain my mentality, you know, behind this whole crypto space right now. You know, I do like to think about these markets a bit outside the box sometimes, you know, and not like kind of based like my primary trading thesis off of these kind of theories, but I do like to think of them, and I think it's important to think about things in this way. Let me go ahead and get this switched over. Let's see. Oh my God, my cat is driving me fucking nuts right now. I might have to lock her out of my office. Just 1 second. Hold on. Hey. Okay. All right. So of course I've got NXM pulled up right now. This is something I've kind of talked about a bit in the past. So I'll just go over this really quick. I still haven't scaled into, you know, my desired position of NXM all the way. You know, of course, this is absolutely a candidate for being overextended, but who fucking knows? You know, we had this big grind down. We had every chance for people to sell. Maybe it is up only from here, maybe it's not. But if you look at WNXM, which is the actual ERC20 version of NXM, you'll notice that NXM trades at about $118, whereas WNXM is trading at $63. Okay, there's an obvious disparity between these two things. There's a huge premium for NXM right now, and if somebody decides to smash that premium in, it's pretty much free money for everything. So let's see here, NXM USD minus WNXM USD. We can do this to see the premium on this chart. And you can see here that this premium over WNXM, it's actually gotten smashed in a couple of times. You know, you can see it here, you can see it here. You know, this one didn't really last. This one was more significant. But the way I see it, it's kind of free money here. Per WNXM token, if this premium were able to return to $0 or actually, it could actually be negative at some point. Unlikely, but I mean, we're looking at free $55 here that you get. You're basically getting to buy this NXM token at a $55 discount right now, which is really interesting. That's one of the reasons that's appealing to me. The price to book is the lowest it's ever been on NXM right now, which is also really interesting. NXM for me is a bet on the state of DeFi as a whole, just because they are the leading insurance player. As we've seen today, brand new $600 million hack, holy shit, right? It's just something to be mindful of, that insurance is definitely something that's here to stay. There's a lot of room for growth. Why is there premium? Why aren't people arbing it? That's a good question. The thing is that NXM exists on a bonding curve. WNXM does not. WNXM is traded freely on places like Uniswap and things like Binance, other exchanges. NXM exists on a bonding curve, okay? And that bonding curve has a minimum capital requirement. And basically that minimum capital requirement ensures that the protocol remains solvent, if all these claims were filed. So the issue right now, and the issue for a while, is that this protocol has been at 100% of MCR. It hasn't been above that. Because of that, you're unable to redeem your NXM on the bonding curve for the NXM price, which is pretty similar to the Ethereum price, right? It mirrors it pretty closely at 100% MCR. Now, the thing is, though, is what people have done is they wrap this NXM so they can sell it, for whatever reason, if they want out. They wrap it, they, come to Uniswap or Binance or wherever, and they sell this shit. So the thing is that if this bonding curve, if that minimum capital requirement is able to get above that 100%, there's an arbitrage opportunity there. And even without NXM itself pumping, WNXM then becomes extremely undervalued because people can just buy it for, $60 or whatever it's trading at. They can unwrap it, they can, sell it on the bonding curve, and they can collect that spread between those two assets. So not only is NXM the #1 leader in the insurance space, there's a lot of applications for NXM even outside of the blockchain space, as a decentralized insurance company. A ton of room for growth there, which is really interesting. Not only is that true, but you've also got this situation to where you have this premium to where if I bought WNXM, it's almost like a free 100% upside per token. When and if that premium ever gets smashed in. So pretty interesting there. Anyway, let's take a look at some of these longer term logarithmic charts. I'll show you guys what I was talking about here when I was talking about these longer term trends. We're going to take a look at synthetics first. I definitely bought some synthetics yesterday, and whew, I got a bunch of fun on this chart drawn up. You can see I've been doing research here. Okay, so let's change this to logarithmic. We're going to change this to a weekly scale just to make it a little easier to see. All right, so Exhibit A, we have synthetics versus the dollar. This is a weekly chart, okay? Now, this channel, okay, is something that's been being established since mid-2019. We've got our first point of contact here. We can kind of call this a point of contact. It almost came down to the trend line here, around $5.70. We're sitting right here at about $10. The trend line remains at about $7.50. But if synthetics, were to continue being bullish, I really like this setup. Of course, I may bail on this if Bitcoin doesn't play ball. Probably will. I really like this setup just due to the potential risk reward it offers. And this is what I mean. If I were to enter this and I'm going to say, okay, I will sell if it breaks below this channel. The fuck? Oh, I got magnet mode on. So I can say, okay, I'm going to sell if we break below this channel, and I'm targeting the top of this channel. It offers me a really, really, really solid risk-reward ratio on this investment, trade, whatever you want to call it. But the idea here is that we will have some degree of continuation on DeFi, and we've definitely seen at the bottom of this channel, we've gotten some pretty big volume down here. It's confirmation that buyers are showing up. They are respecting this longer term trend. Now, we've actually see this chart in a couple different places. Rune is an extremely similar chart to this. Here we go. On Thorchain, just delete these accessories. But once again, Thorchain, long-term, logarithmic. Of course, we broke below here. Thorchain was trading around $3 for a minute, but we were able to reclaim this trend line. Somebody asked me earlier, yesterday actually, which I thought was a really good question. Is it bullish or bearish when something like this happens? When you have a breakdown and it reclaims? I'd say that's very bullish. Reason being is that it had every chance to break down. It had every chance to be bearish here. We broke below the trend line. We had this FUD. A Thorchain got hacked. It got hacked again, right? Oh my God, Chicken Little, run for the hills. But at the end of the day, the bulls overcame all of that. We reclaimed this trend line. And it looks to me like on a lot of these coins that we're doing something very similar to what we had done after previous trend line touches. And you can see that here, you can see that here, and you can see that potentially forming here. Maybe we go like that, and then we start this kind of parabolic ascent. Maybe sometime in September, maybe it starts sometime at the end of August. I'm not 100% sure, but once again, another example of these long-term logarithmic channels that are being respected. And really the way I see it, we break down a trend that's been going on since 2019. DeFi is going to enter an extended bear market. I'm not quite sure DeFi is ready for an extended bear market yet. We have regulations coming at some point, probably a year away, maybe a year and a half from being actually implemented, actually enforced. We do see protocols taking proactive actions right now, like Uniswap with their front end. But at the end of the day, it's kind of do or die for these things, and we have this big volume confirmation here. Now, while this shit has just gone up only, right? And it's been doing that for 2 years. We really haven't had this monster, super face melting rally yet. Well, we've seen some of these top DeFi protocols be represented with these absurd valuations, right? They really haven't escaped the confines of what is reasonable based on their cash flow, et cetera, et cetera. I'm definitely a big believer in the fact that we will have a big ass DeFi bubble, much bigger than we've ever had before. One that really, really makes or breaks people. And I do think that is possibly starting now, because the alternative is a longer term bear market for DeFi. And I just don't think that's the case. It just doesn't make any fucking sense if the rest of the market is risk on, if Bitcoin is risk on, and Bitcoin is going to 100K, and that's the future that we live in. This DeFi stuff is got to nut up or shut up pretty much right now. Yeah, it's in log. There's a lot of history on this chart, okay? I mean, I'm pulling this data from CoinMarketCap, so we actually have Rune history here back from 2019 on this chart. Okay, Bancor is another one that kind of fits this bill. Of course, not as much history on BNT. We have it on the log scale right here, so I will go ahead and draw this one up. Turn snap back on. And once again, you know, what are we seeing here? You know, extremely similar to this, in my opinion, you know, to where we have this trend line tap. You know, we have this kind of initial run up, maybe a bit of sideways here until this is ready to blast off the top of the channel. And I'm assuming that DeFi tops out at some point in October, because we have Bitcoin Taproot in November. Definitely a major catalyst for Bitcoin. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, I definitely a big candidate for a rotation. We do see a bit of volume coming in here at the bottom of this channel. Of course, Bancor hasn't been established in this channel for as long as the other things, but it does look like that it is starting its journey. We have 1, 2, I would imagine we get 3 pushes minimum out of that. That's a lot of what happens in this DeFi space, or in just in shitcoins in general. We see 3 pushes and then it's GG. So assuming that, you know, this does happen sometime in October, and that's when top occurs, you can see here that, let's see, September, October, you can see here that for Bancor, we'd be targeting anywhere from maybe $30 to $35, somewhere in there. And then we can actually have this nicer rotation to Bitcoin then, and who knows what happens after that. But it is something that I'm being mindful of. So once again, you know, the way I'm thinking about this is DeFi ready for an extended bear market? Maybe. But is DeFi going to go into an extended bear market while the rest of the market is potentially risk on, while Ethereum is broken out versus Bitcoin, while Bitcoin is over this yearly volume weighted average price? While no matter what FUD is being thrown at Bitcoin right now, Bitcoin gets bought up on every dip while Bitcoin's being resilient. I just don't think that that's the future we live in. So once again, we're sitting here, we're looking at this Bancor chart, very similar to, you know, the storage chain chart we looked at, very similar to the synthetics chart we looked at, and there's absolutely plenty of room for upside here. What's the argument for rotating from ETH to BNT? That's a really good question. So we can look at some of these charts as well. So Bancor versus Ethereum. Of course, you know, we have kind of broken this down-ish. But yeah, I mean, when you look at any kind of DeFi protocol versus Ethereum, it does look smoked versus Ethereum, you know, and it has been getting smoked. We've had 2 instances of this occurring. You know, the first occurrence of this began in late July, and that was the first kind of DeFi winter. And this bottomed out the 4th of January. Now, if you recall, the 4th of January was pretty much the bottom of DeFi, right? We had this really nice run up there. It was a crazy month. I don't know if you guys remember January or not, but it was an absolutely crazy month. We had this amazing run up, and look, here we are again. Just kind of moving to the downside, not looking very good versus Ethereum. Ethereum's kind of crushed everybody's hopes and dreams right here. Now, what to actually make of this chart? I am not 100% sure, to be honest with you. You know, we can look for a couple indications here. You know, I've got some RSI, some OBVs, things like that on the chart. You can see here, and this is really interesting, this bearish divergence on the OBV, you know, which ended up playing out later. You know, retrospect's a bitch, right? But really the question is, you know, is DeFi going to just continue going down versus Ethereum forever? You know, we're at a point in time which could serve as support versus Ethereum. Let's say maybe we get a little bit more downside versus Ethereum. You know, we're looking at, let's see. Like if we broke down here, you know, and this support wasn't shit. We're looking at another potential 20% to the downside versus Ethereum, and maybe that's something that does happen. For me, I'm not too concerned about it. You know, I'm just kind of going to enter this DeFi stuff while not a lot of people were talking about it. Oh my God. You guys see, this is Nori, aka the Muffin, and she loves getting on my desk and pissing me off. So, bad kitty. Let's look at a couple different perspectives, though. We'll look at the 3-day. We do see this 3-day RSI dipping down into the buy zone. It's bounced just about any time that it's gotten here below 30, it seems. We are there in the 3-day right now. Let's see here. Just something to be mindful about. And we can look at a couple of other things versus Ethereum as well. We'll look at synthetics. So once again, kind of do or die versus Ethereum here for synthetics. Very similar situation to Bancor. And it does look like potentially, we have some kind of bullish divergence here on that RSI. And, we've got that same divergence here on the RSI on the daily. Aave, of course, the strongest DeFi project, period. And you can see that on the chart. Aave's really not fucking around. Of course, we've had these big runs versus Ethereum, and you can see them right here. Aave seems to be bouncing right here versus Ethereum. We'll see what ends up happening with that. Bit of a bullish divergence on the OBV, but we'll keep an eye out on that and see what happens. Now, Ethereum versus Bitcoin is a really interesting one. So here we have Ethereum versus BTC. And we have a breakout. Now, this is really, really interesting. I thought that this could be continuation for a while. It ended up being continuation sooner than I thought. It looks very, very, very clear here that we have some kind of bullish flag structure. And I fit a GAN fan to this Ethereum, okay? And for those of you that haven't been watching this stream for a while, that don't know how I do these GAN fans, I'll show you how really quick. We're gonna take this low right here. We'll use that as an anchor point. I think I misclicked. You just make 100% sure. Okay. And then we are also going to anchor it to where the momentum stops on this high. And there you go. So it is really interesting. So one of the points I'd like to make about Ethereum is that we literally spent, let me turn on, oh, that's why it's not looking right. It's on logarithmic. You got to do GAN fans on the linear. We're looking at Ethereum right here, and we're looking at a situation to where we had this literally 2-year plus accumulation range on Ethereum. And we finally had an impulse out of this accumulation range, a bit of consolidation. Okay, a bit of consolidation. We've got a breakout here. When I think about this, one of the things I have been asking myself is this 2 years, right, of accumulation versus Bitcoin? Is this 2 years, right, of going sideways versus Bitcoin? And then we finally get this explosive upside. We've consolidated for a bit. We've broken out. Is this all Ethereum has in the tank? After this, look at this. 940 days, really, of just kind of fucking around here, of not really performing versus Bitcoin. And after 940 days, you're going to tell me that all we had was a 2x, basically, versus Bitcoin. That's all we're going to do. Now, I was very surprised. EIP 1559 ended up not being a sell the news, because of this NFT mania. We're actually burning a good bit of Ethereum right now, which is a really interesting thing. Yeah, Cream has been fantastic. If you guys, we'll check that out in a little bit. But there's a couple of ways to calculate targets on these breakouts, right? One way is you take the length of the flagpole, and I can take this and I can apply it to the point of break. It never really ends up coming up all the way to the top. But you can see here, if we were to continue and we use this target for this measured move, we could be looking at like maybe 0.1 on Ethereum, which is pretty significant, right? Another way to do this that some people do is they use a Fibonacci retracement tool, and I can drag this down to the bottom of the flagpole, and our target is this 1.618 level, which once again is really similar. And you can see that there's confluence here on the chart with this as well. Now, I originally thought that Bitcoin was going to lead this rotation, because when we bottomed on that 29K or whatever level, Bitcoin was the leader, right? Ethereum went down a bit. Ethereum was underperforming Bitcoin, but eventually Ethereum stepped up and started outperforming Bitcoin. And then I started thinking about this Taproot upgrade and when it occurs and the timing of it and all, and thinking about just in terms, Taproot really enables DeFi on Bitcoin, which is something that the Bitcoiners have been wanting for a while. It enables a lot of other cool things on Bitcoin as well. But I do think that that could be a catalyst for some new and interesting activity to come out of the Bitcoin space. In the meantime, why don't we run up Ethereum, to some kind of level versus Bitcoin and see what happens. Now, when we actually draw this Gann fan on this Ethereum chart, it looks really, really good. So we got this Gann fan on this Ethereum chart. You can see it topped out here in this 2 out of 1 line. One thing about these Gann fans is that I find that in a parabolic situation, if we're going to go nuts, we usually do have a return to this 1 out of 1 line. That's based on the original impulse. That is based on the original trend. And we're looking, let's say that this happens sometime this year, okay? We're looking at actual people talking about a flippening here. This is flippening territory, actually, which is really, really, really interesting. Could take Ethereum right over this new all-time high. The thing is to really, really burn some Ethereum. The Taproot upgrade is going to implement smart contracts on BTC before Cardano, which is pretty funny. But we are looking at a situation this year, and I still do believe that it is very possible Ethereum flips Bitcoin after implementing successfully a deflationary monetary policy, via EIP 1559. Everything's going really, really well. Now, there is a website that allows you to monitor that. And you can go to etherchain.org/burn to see these metrics. Now, before EIP 1559, it's my understanding that we were emitting about 8 Ethereum per minute. So while this isn't crazy in terms of what we used to be looking at, we've already burned almost 23,000 Ethereum. Of course, these NFT mints are causing all of these spikes, right? But you can see right here a much more stable, predictable base fee. You can see we burned a shitload of Ethereum already. $70 million worth of Ethereum has been burned since this has gone live, and that is extremely impressive. I do think that this is going to enable that flippening narrative to happen. Now, I do think that the flippening marks the top. How could it not? Can you imagine a greater moment of euphoria for Ethereum incumbents, for Ethereans, than Ethereum actually flipping Bitcoin? It's definitely something that I'm going to be mindful of. When I see the flippening happening or us getting very fucking close to it, for me, that's kind of a sign to get the fuck out and get into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to remind everybody that it's king at some point, I think. But I've been wrong before, so who knows? But holy shit, right? Almost 23,000 Ethereum burned already. And DeFi hasn't even ramped up yet. DeFi is what's going to burn a fuck ton of Ethereum. The thing about these NFT mints is that they burn Ethereum, right? But it's very spiky in nature. It goes up. We have this mint. People have been hammering this shit. You got this mint. It goes live. Bam, right? all the NFTs are fucking gone. They're minted in 5 minutes. We burned a fuck ton of Ethereum in that 5 minutes. We temporarily, push gas prices way through the roof. But after that, it's over. For a sustained burn, when we're going to look at this and to see the current Ethereum emission, right, negative, that's going to require some heavy DeFi activity, because DeFi has the capabilities of burning Ethereum at high rates, sustained. And that's because when we have this heavy DeFi activity, we're looking at a situation to where you've got all of these different arbitrage opportunities. You've got all sorts of different liquidations that are being carried out on chain. All sorts of trading that's going on and occurring. And even if this trading is occurring on layer 2, that's all settled to layer 1. End result being we're burning a lot of Ethereum because we're doing a lot of things on Ethereum. And this DeFi activity shouldn't be a spike. It should be like a ramp up. It should be something that's consistent. But this is something that's interesting, that we need to pay attention to over time. Once again, that's etherchain.org, etherchain.org/burn. You can check that out for yourselves there. Something I'm being mindful of. Damn, it looks like we might not get into the Nansen and shit today, but we'll see. Okay, we're gonna try to squeeze that in. There's just so much to talk about. So ZenDegen saying another catalyst that could take us to flippening is a CBDC being implemented on Ethereum, which is not too far-fetched. IMO. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I agree. That'd be super, super cool. We'll see what happens. This is definitely not something to just shrug off, though. We're looking at a situation where Ethereum has broken out versus Bitcoin. Ethereum is showing strength versus Bitcoin. Okay, so make of that what you will. Let's look at some more DeFi while we're here. I think that'd definitely be a good good use of our time. I'll go over the bags that I'm in as I have in the past. Do I know the Hxro seller wants to dump 12 million tokens on FTX? No idea, Janik. And also, you need to understand with the motivations. Sorry, my housekeeper is here, so the dog is gonna bark. Yeah, we'll look at some of these different things. I do have Spell pulled up. If you guys haven't used Moon Tools, it's a really good app. You can chart just about anything on here, and I've been using it as such. This is Spell versus USD, and of course Spell versus Ethereum here. This is my gem play. Not too much TA that you can do that actually works on these gems. Roughly, loosely though, if I wanted to do some TA on this, this is what I'd mainly be looking at here. We kind of have this wedge structure here. We could definitely break this to the upside or to the downside. But it's something that I'm watching, of course, super low market cap, very high risk, high reward. Some really smart people are interested in this, which is what piqued my interest. We've already gone over the NXM, WNXM kind of shit, so we'll pass on that. Let's take a look at a few other things here. Bond is one that I really like the chart on, and you can see a couple of things here. Oh, motherfucker, get at this. All right, hold on. Now, Bond really never did shit, right? It's always just kind of been a letdown. Let's take a look at the line chart. We'll see if we can get some trend lines going here. Now, one thing to note about a trend line is that, you can draw these in all sorts of different ways, right? Now, that's a potential trend line. Of course, that's a potential trend line. That's a potential trend line. The main thing that I want to be careful about with trend lines is not curve fitting from my bias. So one way to be sure about that is I can draw trend lines in one of two ways. And I feel like a lot of people, you'll see these charts where they always have the trend lines drawn to fit their bias. Because, why wouldn't you want to support that kind of stuff when you're shilling your bags? But two ways that I think are valid to do this kind of shit, okay? The first way is connecting two adjacent peaks or two adjacent troughs. What that actually means here is that I could connect this and this. That's a valid trend line, right? And you can see here that we broke below this trend line, but we ended up reclaiming it. We tested it again. We tested it again. This is a really, really nice trend line for bond because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost, if you want to call it, points of contact. You can see that this trend line has been respected over a long period of time. So now we're going to look at this as an anomaly because if we exclude this right here, we can actually draw a really nice trend line, I believe. Yeah, there we go. From right here. And you might say, well, you know, why? How can you just do that? You know, wouldn't this make this trend line invalid? The answer to that question is no, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 points of contact on this trend line. So I really, really do like this almost kind of descending channel structure on bond. Now bond, really great fundamentals, tranched yield product, which kind of reallocates some of the risks, you know, based on what tranche you're in. They have a junior and a senior tranche. Super interesting project nonetheless. But one of the things that really interested me was you did have this kind of bottomy looking thing here. It was at the bottom of this channel. There's precedent here for some kind of bounce. Bond really never did shit, but here's the tell. We have this absolutely monster volume spike right here, and I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. A great place to add to bond would be around $23, I think. You know, if we manage to pull back to that level, that could be really, really enticing. If you want to be really safe about this, of course, the best thing you could possibly do would be to wait until we break this channel to the upside, and then you could enter a really nice setup with some potential momentum. Of course, there is potential for a fake out. Look, you've got this wick outside the channel here, etc. But this is on Coinbase now. Normies can buy this shit. Yeah, Tyler. That's a big reason why I bought Keep, why I bought Bond, is they are these Coinbase gems now, and they are DeFi. So it gives basically exposure to something that normies can come in and buy. That's also DeFi. And the volume, the proof is in the volume. You can see right here, we've got this increased volume down here, increased interest. I would assume this is accumulation just because it's at the bottom. And once again, this monster volume spike is super sus. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that, but I like to see that kind of activity. Keep is really interesting. It's basically a herein competitor. It's got a lower market cap than herein. It's private compute on Ethereum. They're using threshold encryption and other things to enable this private computation network. They have these things called keeps, which are basically containers that hold this private information and store these wrapped assets. Now, Keep is partnering with a project called NewCipher. They're actually merging projects. Extremely impressive investor base. You've got Anderson Horowitz, A16Z, and some other big dogs as well. And Keep, oh my God, wait till you see this chart versus Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's absolutely hilarious. This really has never had a chance to shine really well. Sam, really appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I do try to keep it real. Am I getting completely out of Rook? No. I'll tell you why I rebalanced Rook. Rook is actually, so I've got a maximum position sizing right now, and Rook is in that slot for max position size. So don't get me wrong, like I feel like I was just overexposed to Rook. Arthur 0x said something on his Twitter a few days ago that kind of spoke to me, and I thought about it, and I'll share what he said in a bit. Maybe we can find it, maybe I can just sum it up. But I think this will speak to you guys too, and I think it made a lot of sense. We're talking to a guy that's made, I mean, buku money in crypto. Yeah, Bond is similar and different to MPH. But yeah, let's take a look at this Keep network really quick. Oop. So here we have it, Keep network versus the dollar. Switch it to the line chart and make drawing these trend lines easy. Okay, so we can connect these two adjacent peaks and make a valid trend line. And you can see here, we've had one fake out, 2 fake outs. Now it's actually really interesting. You know, when we've broken above this trend line, I was actually doing some blockchain analytics, and it seems that jump trading is suppressing the price of this for whatever reason, whether that be that they are exiting for some reason or they're suppressing it for accumulation. I have no idea. But if you do look at the chart, once again, very similar to bond, you've got something that is really never gotten any attention, with huge investor backing, with huge use cases and applications, and all of a sudden we see this massive pile of volume showing up right here, and it's on Coinbase now, which is super interesting. Now, I really like this chart versus the dollar because Keep is not coming from the position of something that really rallied hard and is now fucking wrecked, at least in dollar terms, okay? I like BPro a lot. Yeah, we'll talk about Badger. Of course, Badger looks fantastic. I'm salty I didn't buy the bottom on that. I hope it retraces. Big news on Badger, of course, is that Three Arrows Capital made a sizable investment into Badger for whatever reason. Not quite sure what's coming. Sure, they know something. Maybe they just saw it was undervalued, you know, relative to the amount of value locked, et cetera, et cetera. But that's something that I am watching closely. Big Badger fan, bigger Spot Boom fan. That dude works his dick off, which is something to be said. But really like this chart on Keep. Switch it back to the candle view, and you can see here that we are just on the cusp of something potentially happening. This floor right here of around 21 cents is something that has pretty consistently held for quite some time now. And of course, we could be coming back down to this floor again towards the end of August. Maybe these altcoins break out sometime in September. That's a-okay. The matter of fact, though, is that this chart, in my opinion, looks pretty good. It's not recovering from this huge pump. We don't have any massive bag holders here. It's just something that really never caught on, and they are merging with this project NewsCypher, which has a similar chart, but different. NewsCypher, of course, recovering from a lot more upside than it had. Definitely some volume coming in here. Not quite sure what to make of that. I think that's a harder read. But they are switching to a new coin. It's going to be called T, just capital T, which is pretty cool. Let's look at Keep versus Ethereum and versus BTC. And you're going to see a really interesting picture here. This shit is fucking wrecked. Look at this, right? Shit is it's just never done fucking anything. It's done fuck all versus Bitcoin. But this is really interesting. You know, this kind of establishes this range down here, and we can draw this range. I'm just gonna. So you can see, you know, we're in this range versus BTC. We have been in this range versus BTC arguably since November. And it just kind of hasn't done shit. But wow, look at this. We've got this enormous volume coming down in this level. We do have a Coinbase listing right now. If this does manage to get out of this range, there's a lot of upside potential here, and I don't think anybody has exposure to this. It's an even worse chart when you look at Keep versus Ethereum. Yeah, brutal fucking chart, right? Versus Ethereum, I mean, this is just, you know, fuck city. Like, it's just like a never ever ending, seemingly never ending mountain of downside here. And this is the structure that we have going on Ethereum. You know, we have this descending wedge structure. I have no doubt at some point that this is going to break up. And once again, when it does, the upside here could be absolutely massive, especially considering that we really kind of have a gap to fill right here. You know, when we hit this gap, it's just going to be, in my opinion, you know, hit the fucking gas, let's go. But let's see what happens with this. Let's see if we can catch a bid. The issue with things like Ren, things like Rune, things like Keep is that, you know, they haven't really caught on because nobody has invented a really good way of bringing Bitcoin to Ethereum for use in DeFi. Keep believes that they have the best solution. You know, the issue with Ren, they have fantastic technology, but Ren actually had to centralize the custody of the storage of their BTC. REN's not decentralized yet, which is the ultimate vision and what I think will ultimately give REN a lot of value. I do think that Keep may be one of the first larger scale decentralized solutions for wrapping BTC trustlessly, bringing it to Bitcoin. Definitely a field with a lot of room for growth, and I think that the first person that ends up doing that successfully, of course, Thorchain, but we've had hacks there. I do think that there's some upside possible there. But once again, if you look at this structure right here, which has been respected pretty well over time, right, there is potential for more downside, especially versus Ethereum. If Ethereum rips face here, if you're in DeFi like me, you might be in that kind of up in USD basket. So if you can imagine, us coming down here, having some kind of dump, and then end up breaking out sometime here, it is something to think about. Now, once again, though, we have this Bitcoin upgrade taproot in November. Let me get the exact date. Let's see. I'm just seeing November 2021, when I look at it. Around November 15th is what it's looking like. So I'm gonna mark that on the chart. So I'm going to assume that, if DeFi is going to run, if we're gonna get some action here, it's gonna have to do that before we get some kind of major rotation to Bitcoin, right? And right now, Ethereum is broken out versus Bitcoin. So I think we have a window here. Now, the window is not very big. If you recall, DeFi, when it moves quick. It's typically 1-2 months of just pure bliss. And then maybe you're up in USD, maybe you're going sideways and people are collecting yield. Who knows? But we do have a relatively narrow window here to actually accomplish things. That's about 100 days. Now, also consider that I would imagine money begins to rotate into Bitcoin sometime ahead of this taproot upgrade. For me, if this plays out the way I'm thinking, I'd like to probably be out of DeFi sometime in October. That's going to give us, let's say from mid-October, that's going to give us about 2 months potential window to 2.5 months, right? For this really to make a move. So if this were, if I'm wrong about that, if we don't see the rotation play out in that manner, we could see this coming down. And one of the really interesting things is this wedge seems to resolve around the date of the Bitcoin taproot upgrade. So another thing that could happen, maybe this Ethereum breakout is false. Maybe it breaks back down versus BTC. We spend some more time there consolidating. And maybe some of this DeFi stuff continues to, consolidate, grind to lows, et cetera, until then. I am optimistic, we'll see what the fuck happens. Alpha is another interesting one. Let's look at Badger, Old Flame, great project. God damn, look at that shit. Now, one of the really interesting things about Badger is I think we can actually compare the structure on Badger to some of the structures we're seeing in other DeFi protocols right now. And you can see, Badger was one of the leaders of the last DeFi season, and it's doing the same fucking thing this time, being a leader for this DeFi season. So here's the structure I'm talking about. And almost any DeFi coin you look at, we can see the structure, right? Almost the same as that Bitcoin top, where you have these 3 drives to the downside, each of these becoming weaker and weaker. You've got this initial pump up, a little bit of pullback, and then expansion, which is really interesting. Now, when I say you can see this exact same pattern in almost any DeFi coin, let me show you what I'm talking about. Bancor, once again, look, the same thing, 1, 2, 3, weaker every time. We have this breakout. We haven't really seen that upside expansion on Bancor yet. Let's check out Aave, one of the stronger charts. Aave's a bit different, one of the strongest charts in DeFi, obviously, but similar here. We just didn't make this area down here. I guess there was too much demand for it or whatever. But once again, similar story. Let's look at Alpha, because I do think Alpha looked similar. Alpha kind of looks more similar to Aave. Let's see. There's more charts that look like that. Synthetics. Or let's just look at the Ethereum chart. See, 1, 2, 3. Now this is kind of interesting for Ethereum. You know, I've got this channel drawn here. Potential obstacle to overcome. This is log scale though, and you can see here what's really interesting on Bitcoin. This is kind of the overall channel for the trend. Anything above or below this, or you know, kind of outliers, you know, up here is looking to sell. You know, bubble territory up here. You know, looking to buy somewhere, or you know, maybe looking to short a breakdown of this channel. But we have reclaimed this, you know, which is super interesting. I didn't honestly think that we would, but once again, we're seeing the same thing here. 1, 2, 3, and then this explosive upside right there. We do see that in a lot of things. We can look at Badger versus Ethereum now. Wow. Face melter, right? It's just going up. Switch it over to the line chart. Yeah. That's a pretty clear breakout. And then Badger versus BTC. Now I'm not a chaser. I don't like chasing. You know, if I missed out a move, that's the beautiful thing about this DeFi shit is there's so many different projects that, you know, that haven't really had these huge expansions yet. And good projects too, you know, projects that can catch a bid. My bullock on Hedgick and Molly, I don't know about that. She's just kind of volatile, you know, for my liking. I don't like it that the founder can, you know, come in and joke about like being arrested and like leaving the project or whatever. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like, I'm holding your coin. Like, can you shut up? Now, Arthur didn't talk about anything with Rook. He talked about position sizing. Okay, so I'll address that really quick. So basically, here, let me see if I can find this shit. Okay. Of course, everybody's mad at Arthur right now because fucking Defiance voted down the bond proposal on Aave, which is super lame. Yeah, fuck DYDX, dickheads. Where the fuck did he say this shit? Maybe it wasn't him. I could have sworn to God that it was. But anyway, whoever it was, I swear it was Arthur. But they said something along the lines of, you know, in terms of position sizing, when you have one bag, you know, that becomes a very large percentage of your. He wasn't talking about Rook, guys. Once again, he wasn't talking about Rook. I applied what he said or whoever in the context of Rook. Basically, I realized that I was probably overweight on Rook. You know, I put too many bags in one basket. The idea about concentration is that, you know, when you have some kind of portfolio diversity in crypto, when you have a bag that becomes a much larger percentage of your portfolio, it should be because, you know, that bag became that way. It shouldn't be because it started off that way. It should be because that bag became that way. And so with Rook, I was just thinking to myself, yeah, it may have been Tetranode. I don't know. I don't fucking know, guys. It was somebody smart and somebody that I respect. I think I could have sworn it was Arthur. Maybe it was somebody else. But the thing is, you know, I started thinking about the balance of my portfolio and my allocation and everything. And I was like, wow, you know, I'm really heavily weighted Rook. And, you know, while I obviously have been a Rook supporter for a very long time, you know, it doesn't make any sense for me to just bet on Rook that hard, because if something happens with Rook, I'm fucked. And this is DeFi. You know, we saw a $600 million hack happen earlier today. So my mentality here, my thinking was that, okay, you know, let's establish a threshold for like a big bag. You know, let's establish this maximum bag size, and then have these bigger bags. And then hopefully, you know, you played your cards right. Hopefully, you know, you invested in some better projects. And that ends up being a situation to where you do have these bags that grow into a larger percentage of your portfolio, that represent a larger percentage of your portfolio. And you know, one of the things I've thought about actually doing is creating a balancer pool and throwing all of my assets into there. You know, and establishing like ratios, is, you know, putting in weights on these assets, and just that way, like, my whole portfolio automatically rebalances itself and keeps a specific ratio on the way up. Just something I've considered, you know, something that could be interesting, something I'm thinking about. But anyway, that's the reason why I did reduce size a little bit on Rook. But here's the thing, if you'll notice, I only reduced size to a certain point. I didn't make it so Rook was one of the smaller bags. Rook's at the maximum threshold for one of my big bags. The other bags that are in that slot for me, I have Curve, which is another big bag that I'm betting on. I also have Synthetics, which is a big bag that I'm betting on. And then Rook. I mean, really, there's three. So I do have multiple opportunities to have one of those things, you know, grow into this really, really, really large position. You know, and put me in a good position too. So that's something I'm watching. So Bitcoin, right here. You know, we had this, you know, thing, this bill, this monstrosity go through the Senate today. This is that yearly volume weighted average price. You know, you can see here, you know, that passed. Once again, we came down to this yearly volume weighted average price. We were resilient. I really, really would like to reclaim this area. You know, we can see for bullish continuation, but for me, I'm going to be bullish DeFi and all this shit. And look, this is a very, very like close point of invalidation. If we lose this yearly volume weighted average price, you know, that could set the stage for Bitcoin to pull back to the low 40s. But for the time being, you know, I'm looking at this, it's bouncing in the right place. We're shrugging off bad news. For me, Bitcoin over the yearly VWAP is bullish. That shows that the risk is, or that the market is risk on, and that everything looks good. Now, here's an issue about BPro. I think BPro is super smart. They got great connections. The chart does look good here, but the liquidity is atrocious. So if I was working with smaller sizes, I think BPro would be a good play. You know, they are innovating. They are doing unique things. They are, you know, they are part of this MEV narrative. But at the same time, it is difficult to enter and exit BPro just due to the lack of liquidity. Yeah, Curve farming convex is an option. I'm trying not to be too much of a farmer here. And the reason is because this farming mentality got me into the fucking, this farming mentality got me into a bag holder's mindset. And I don't want to be in a bag holder's mindset. I want to be flexible here, and I want to ensure that when it's just time to sell, I just fucking sell. You know, you sit there and you're getting your yield and it becomes comfy and you become accustomed to it. Like, okay, you know, that's all fine and dandy. But if we're going to have a big DeFi pump before some kind of massive rotation to Bitcoin, you know, for the run to 100K, then I want to be flexible and I want to be able to just drop my fucking shit. And, you know, I don't want to be, you know, beholden to any kind of like, oh, well, I'm getting passive income on these assets, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'd rather maintain my ability to be flexible here. Yeah, it totally happened to me with BNT too. You know, you get comfy with that yield and it just becomes something that's difficult to let go. Why Convex instead of Curve? Well, Curve is the Mag Daddy. Curve has $10 billion of asset or in liquidity, not liquidity, and TVL. Curve has an emissions reduction this month. The first one, I believe. I think Curve just should be at a higher market cap, and Curve has great liquidity. So if I buy Curve here and Curve runs to 10, 12 bucks, let's say, I'm happy to just offload my Curve there. And that upside will eclipse any kind of fucking staking or farming or whatever bullshit, anybody else is doing in the meantime. Once again, I want to be mindful of rotations. And I don't know exactly how these rotations are going to play out, but I do feel like that at some point this money's going to rotate to Bitcoin, and that's not a rocket I want to miss out on. So I am being very mindful of things like that. DeFi is trending on Twitter. Loss. Something Mike Voller is saying, Vitalik mentioned a proposal that's related to MEV, so that hopefully nothing comes from MEV coins and they all go to zero once the proposal is implemented. I don't think Vitalik's ever said, hope shit goes to zero. Like, that's fucking weird. MEV is not going away, I don't feel like. I think that'd be very interesting. Of course, there's a lot of MEV solutions, a lot of competition in that field. But a lot of people, seem to be doing their own thing and, have their own kind of unique takes on that. So yeah, back to some DeFi charts. Badger looks really, really nice there. You guys did mention B-Pro. I just want to once again stress that, not BitCloud. Once again, I'd like to stress that this is a liquid, okay? I've got it on log scale. We'll put it on normal. But look, the chart actually looks pretty fucking good. Like, that looks great to me. You've got this break of the range, a little bit of consolidation after range break. They've got a new product out. Who knows what could happen next? You've got to remember, this has come down a long way. It's been a long time sideways. That could be interesting. Gaetano Santos, we already looked at Badger. Yeah, no, I understand, Mike. Just, saying what's up. Well, everybody's trying to solve MEV, but good luck with that. It's, we'll see what happens there. I don't think MEV is a bad thing. I think at the end of the day, it's a good thing. But yeah, I don't want to get into that right now. Like, let's just keep looking at let's keep looking at all this shit. Yeah, let's look at Sushi USD. This ugly ass GAN fan on Sushi. We'll blow that away. I don't understand why it puts those clown colors on bottom. Okay. So super solid GAN fit on Sushi. Sushi does look fantastic here. It has broken out of this level right here, and you can see that retest and rebound to the upside. I could easily see Sushi reaching 20 bucks here. Obviously, a lot of demand for Sushi, a lot of talk about Sushi. VCs love Sushi. I think Sushi looks fantastic. Of course, let's look at this shit versus Ethereum. That's just, I don't even know what the fuck to make of that. That's just really interesting. It almost looks like somebody has just been buying all the Sushi anybody can sell, and you can fuck off there. And then Sushi versus BTC, kind of a similar picture. Let's do something. Now, one interesting thing, that I've been thinking about DeFi is that if you guys remember, before Bitcoin kind of rained on everyone's parade, DeFi looked really good. It did. The money had rotated to DeFi. Everything DeFi looks super strong. And, then Bitcoin dumped and just kind of ruined the party. And I do view that as a black swan event. So, I am wondering if at some point, DeFi just normalizes back at where it was and just rips up. Sushi, big fake out here, and the market, we paid for that. But Sushi looks pretty good versus BTC, in this kind of channel. And who knows how long this goes on. Eventually, this is going to break out to the upside, and we can see some fireworks here. Curve, blah blah blah. Got a GAN fan on Curve. Curve looks really, really, really nice, and you can see this similar pattern to what we saw on Badger here on Curve, where you can see, look, 1, 2, 3, and this is like where Badger was, like right before it just blew the fuck up. We'll see where Curve goes. I mean, Curve never really outperformed anything else. But once again, Curve has like $10 billion in TVL. Super interesting. And yeah, some layer ones could run hard, but the thing is that the case for layer one isn't as strong right now because we have layer two deployed. Mina, look at that. 3AC. Mina's a lightweight blockchain. Mina looks like it's fucking right here pretty hard. Look, from all the way from bottom on July at $1 to $3 now. Let's look at internet computer. Whew. Jesus. Huge volume here. Of course, internet computer, the biggest meme in crypto for a while. Really nice structure here, though. I like this nice rounded bottom here. Good looking breakout. Avalanche. Not looking as good. It's interesting here. It does look like the volumizer has been turned off, wherever that was. Not seeing this big volume run up here. I'm not sure the case for L1 is as strong as it used to be, for real. Balancer, something else that I bought. If we look at DeFi Pulse, see Balancer up here at number 11 with almost $2 billion in TVL. Balancer, relatively low cap. We can check the CoinGecko. Now, Balancer just released Balancer V2. One of the things that Balancer V2 allows for is a protocol fee to be voted in by governance, which is going to bring value accrual to the Balancer token. So I think that the Balancer token could be mispriced based on that, if they're able to vote and get that through. But V2 does some other cool things too. I'm still digging into it. I went ahead and bought because the chart looks good. Same kind of market cap to TVL ratio as something like Curve. We got here at a 0.09. Let's look at Curve, DAO token. 0.06 here. There's Convex Finance. 0.02. So it could definitely still be undervalued. Convex emissions, I do feel like are still a bit high. It's difficult to overcome that. But I am bullish on Convex longer term. Let's look at Curve versus some shit. My charts go. Okay, so we've got Balancer up here. Once again, this similar structure. Look, 1, 2, 3. We've come right here, and we haven't really had this face melt up to the upside, but very similar to Badger. If DeFi is going to rip, this will consolidate here for just a second. And then, we will pop up. But you can see here, DeFi looked pretty fucking good. We really didn't have these parabolic blow-offs. We had these kind of steady grinds up, and then look, we had this Bitcoin black swan and nuked everything. But I do think something like Balancer can and will recover here. BAL versus BTC. Once again, on support versus Bitcoin. Does it break down? Who knows? I don't fucking know. But for right now, that looks good enough for me. Potential double bottom here. Let's see if we can rally from here. Maybe put in the higher high after this higher low. See what happens. And then Balancer versus Ethereum. And looks like that might have been drawn on log. But let's come up here and see what this looks like. So it does look like, the balancer has broken out versus Ethereum. This is actually something that I see a lot though, where, you have this breakout and then it just kind of peters out down here, because you've got this really steep slope on the trend line. Peter out right here. These crosses are really good candidates for, when a reversal is going to happen. This cross occurs on around the end of August, which is definitely a possible scenario where we get this alt season, DeFi season in September and October. Let's see. And I do like looking at multiple perspectives. Excuse me. I like looking at multiple perspectives. So I do like to consider, what things look like in the linear scale and the log scale. So we can see here, versus the log scale, it is not as pretty, but we do have a really nice channel here. This trend line here does seem to be valid. It seems to be respected. We have these 3 points of contact. Balancer very well, with some of these other DeFi coins, especially if Ethereum really rips, put us all in this up in USD situation, and very similar to some of the other things we've looked at, about negative 20% versus Ethereum, to get back to that. Now, Curve versus BTC, I mean, I think that looks pretty fucking good. We've had this floor that we've held versus BTC for a pretty long time, right? Let's look at this non-linear. Right, you can see here, it's just kind of been sideways versus Bitcoin for a while. Now, if I want to draw trend lines here, and this is very interesting to me. I mean, look at this. We're literally like on the verge of breaking out of this, consolidation period. This actually started. Curve was one of the better looking things versus Bitcoin in May, which is really interesting. And you can see here that we're actually testing this trend line again, versus BTC. That curve chart looks good versus the USD. Let's draw the diagonal here. So it's kind of like at a decision point right here. Which way are we going to break? Do we want to break up? Do we want to break down? How's this going to end up going? Of course, I'm leaning bullish right now, but we'll see what happens. And Curve versus Ethereum is an interesting picture, where we are once again at what has been rock bottom. So the question is does this break down versus Ethereum this time, or is Curve going to continue to have these kind of explosive reactions from this level? And you can see here, this is in January, boom, this was a fantastic moment right here. Through February, we had this nice DeFi pump before the money rotated into shitcoins. And you can see here, trend line tap, and this is at the end of May, and this is where we saw DeFi, do a little bit of running again. And Curve actually, I think, was outperforming Ethereum on the dump, which is really interesting. But once again, really similar, Curve versus Ethereum. Got this structure which resolves soon, right? Like we find out soon. We're going to see if it goes up, if it goes down, et cetera, et cetera. See what happens. Versus the dollar, though, I really, really do like how this looks. Really solid fan fit. If this timeline plays out and we're able to return to this 101 with reduced emissions on Curve, I'd count on this topping out, sometime in October. That'd give us a target of around $10 for Curve. And I think, these things would do this kind of price action, relatively quickly. It's very important for me not to get caught in the bag holder mindset. I want to be flexible. I want to be able to be, to be liquid, and I want to be able to rotate. The idea here is to play DeFi well, to, take whatever excess DeFi is going to give me, if it gives me them at all, and then to rotate into Bitcoin and see what happens there. But guys, look, we've been going for an hour and a half. It's hot in my office. I'm sweating my balls off. It's very hot today in Alabama. So yeah, I guess I should run for office in Bama with ledger status. Let me change this back over. Damn, we didn't get it. We didn't get into any Nansen today. We're gonna get into Nansen at some point. We just hadn't looked at charts in so long, and there's so many opportunities. Look, guys, you know, if you want to look at these charts, there's this website I use. It's called charts.cointrader.pro. Okay, I posted it in chat. You can chart pretty much fucking anything here. You know, whether that be on Uniswap, you can chart it versus Bitcoin versus Ethereum. Definitely some important intel right now. Chart fucking anything here, right? So just be mindful of that. Keep your eyes on it. You know, see what happens here. I like using this CoinTrader Pro just because it's simple, does exactly what you want, etc., etc. Yeah, guys, please hit that thumbs up button. If you've been watching, if you've enjoyed this episode, you know, I do appreciate you being here for sure. Keep your eyes on this. Okay, I don't fucking know what's going to happen here. I just have a feeling like when Bitcoin reclaimed this yearly VWAP, for me in my head, I was like, I've been sitting out, but oh my God, like I could never forgive myself if I didn't play these setups, if I didn't take this opportunity. And the beautiful thing about this is, look, the point of invalidation is literally right below. I mean, if we have any kind of significant breakout with the downside, you know, if Bitcoin loses this level, which look, fuck y'all, everybody thought it was going to bounce or thought it was going to dump. You know, we had people running their mouths on Twitter, you know, I told you, amendment, blah, blah, blah. But look at us once again, bouncing up. Bitcoin strong. Bitcoin strong gives the green light to the rest of the market. Spell, so looks good. What are you looking at? But with DeFi, once again, point of invalidation is right below on these things. Remember, look at these long scale logarithmic charts. You can make these own charts so you can monitor on their own. You don't have to fucking wait for me to say like, holy fuck, like this shit looks bad. You know, you're going to be able to tell if it looks bad on your own. Long scale logarithmic chart. Like, fam. That just looks fucking good. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. It just looks good. Look at the potential upside. I mean, if we were to top out on synthetics, and this is a big if, we're able to make it to the top of the channel again, which I'm not quite sure because, look, we also have this trend line. Let's say we just make it to here, right? We don't touch the top of the channel. That's like 56 bucks. Like that's a 5x from here. Like there's so much potential for upside here in DeFi. Let me redraw this trend line. And I'm gonna use this and that as an anchor. You know, like even if we just retest this trend line, you know, let's say, you know, we top out sometime in October, like I thought, you know, that gives us like $30 SNX. Like that's a 3x from here. Like I do think that there's upside to be had here. Just something to pay attention to. Long-term channel though, I mean, fuck, if we get to the top, you like 80 bucks. One of the really interesting things about this is it looks really, really similar to a Livermore accumulation cylinder. I know it is log scale. I don't know if you could do those in log scale or if you can't. The volume profile matches, everything matches. Big volume down here. DeFi hasn't had a huge bubble. I mean, we could see like $100 synthetics if that's what this is, you know, and we managed to break out of the top. So who fucking knows? But watch Bitcoin. You can put that yearly volume weighted average price in your chart. You know, look at it on different exchanges. Look at it at Binance, FTX, et cetera, et cetera. Look at it where the liquidity is. Yearly volume weighted average price. Something to pay attention to. For me, that's my risk on signal, you know, for this market. Once again, this dip just soaked the fuck up. Lols, I've got these moon phases on my chart. If you guys have ever, you know, we looked at those on stream last time. They're kind of goofy, but it's funny how they can work sometimes. And once again, this Ethereum dip, nope, fuck that. You know, we're not dipping right. We're getting bought up for now. But guys, thank you so much for being. Okay, look. Synthetics, are you worried about SEC regulation issues down the track after warnings? No, I'm not marrying these bags. I'm holding these bags for the final pump, for the grand finale. Okay? That's all I'm trying to do here. Buy the bag, ride the bag, sell the bag. Don't be attached. Don't be a community member. Don't be a yield farmer. Don't be a bag holder. You're a guy that buys low and sells high. Then you buy something else and sell it high. Like, that's all I'm trying to do. You know, I'm not going to fall for the Masternodes 2.0 hype this time. I'm just not. Like, that is a meme. And of course, some of the stuff longer term, sure, you know, maybe it ends up being a great investment. But I'm going to be a profit taker, not a bag holder, period. I fucked that up last time. You know, I was all comfy, staking my bags, feeling like, oh, you know, well, I have lost 20% of my net worth now, but I'm making a lot of yield, you know. Fuck that. I'm not going to put myself in that position again. Ever. Ever. And, you know, a lot of people will. And, you know, more power to them. You know, if you want to be a fucking bag holder and get your fucking yield, whatever, you know, by all means, you know, be my guest and do it. I'm not fucking doing that shit. I am in these bags to dump them, period. And that's it. That's the end of story. End of the game. I am buying this shit to dump. And the thing is I hopefully get to dump this shit soon. You know, when I say soon, a couple of months. Now, something like synthetics, I am staking because you can mint fucking dollars with that. You know, farm with my dollars for synthetics, whatever. You know, that's cool. Or just hold them, whatever. But mainly I'm staking synthetics to get these fucking airdrops that are coming up. To get these airdrops. Quinta, there's all sorts of weird ass fucking names they put behind all this shit. I'm trying to get these airdrops. I think these airdrops not only could be catalysts for synthetics upside, but hey, it's free fucking gets free tokens. Sam, that's a great question. What do I dump to? USDT, Ethereum, Bitcoin? It depends on what the market ends up looking like. Right now, there is some kind of rotation brewing. Something is going to take center stage here. You know, whether that be DeFi, whether that be Ethereum, whether that be Bitcoin. Something is going to suck liquidity out of the other sectors. I don't know what it is yet. I'm just trying to like remain flexible, have theories here of what's going on. You know, I can accept being up in USD. I'm totally fine with that if Bitcoin is the first one to run. I do want to nail at least one rotation. So I'm in this DeFi shit right now. I like the charts versus the dollar. The charts are questionable, but okay, versus Bitcoin and Ethereum in most cases. I know this sector has been in a bear market for longer than anything else. I know it's due a rotation. So my idea here is just to try to capture that upside on DeFi. I like DeFi. DeFi's fun. You know, I didn't participate in any of this, any like NFT stuff. I'm just a fucking nerd. Like I like the finance. I like DeFi. I like the game theory. I like the game behind it. You know, if you want to go get rich minting 1,000, you know, sideways apes or whatever, you know, be my fucking guest. Like I've got some friends that have made crazy money doing this NFT shit over the past, you know, month. It's just not, it's not that I'm not interested in it. It's just, I feel like I don't want to be late to something. I'd rather be early to something. I'd rather buy something when nobody seems to be talking about it and be early. Like I'm a fucking nerd. I want to go shill my DeFi bags because look at this technology, look at the game theory, look at this and that. Like I'm a fucking nerd. I don't want to be on Twitter like selling my soul and changing my fucking profile pic to a retarded looking penguin. You know, by all means, like if you want to go flip JPEGs and like make a shit ton of money, sure, you know, like go do that shit. Like I really don't have a problem with that. It's just not my thing. You know, it's not what I'm passionate about. And I find that, you know, whenever I invest, I've got to invest in what I'm passionate about or I'm not going to be successful. And sometimes even I do invest in you know, what I'm passionate about and I'm not successful. So you know, it ends up being a losing situation. But I do find that if I want to be successful investing, I've got to have that passion there, you know, because it takes balls to hold some of this shit. You know, you are holding something with increasing regulatory pressure. You are holding something, you know, to where black swans can happen. You are holding something to where there's hack risk. But man, that's like what gets me going, right? Like this shit gets me fucking hard. Like that's what I like. Yeah, please do drop me an NFT. Like, I'm not against them. I've got a couple of friends that have gifted me NFTs and stuff. I'll put them up for outrageous sale prices. And, you know, of course, if people are looking at my wallet, they'll be like, oh, you know, he owns that or whatever. But yeah, I just like, that's just not my fucking game. I'm not passionate about it. Whenever I do mint NFTs, it's always the wrong one, and it's normally just out of boredom. Because it is fun minting NFTs. You know, the issue now though is you go try to mint a fucking NFT. Like I tried to mint some of those fuck crystals yesterday, and I literally was like, okay, you know, like look at this website. I saw the timer counting down. There was like 2,000 left, and I was going to be able to buy these in like 60 seconds, right? So that timer counts down 10, 9, 8. I'm like, okay, I'm logged into my ledger, like logged into MetaMask, got Ethereum in my wallet, like I'm ready to rock and roll. And, you know, that fucking countdown hit 0. And I was like, wait a minute, why does the buy button not work? And instantly I refreshed the page and it says that 0 are available. I'm like, oh, well, cool. You know, some dickhead came in and, you know, minted everything instantly somehow, like through some kind of minor bribe, or he's written a script, or you know, something like that. To get these airdrops, Darkmark, I think you have to mint synthetic assets with your synthetics. So you would go to the synthetics website, you'd stake your synthetics, and by staking I mean, you know, you basically just go and mint SUSD with it, synthetic US dollar. Let's see here. Oh, okay, cool. Serious, let's come on. Shit, fucking still telling me. I've only been staking for a couple days, but it's saying that I'm earning 32.26% on this synthetics. Anyway, I could talk forever, guys. As Derek Lewis once famously said, my balls is hot. Which is not a good situation. I was never out of Rook, Zubin. I actually found more space in the Rook pool on Bancor, and I threw some more in there. That's a potential longer term position, but once again, I don't want to be a bag holder. You know, we see Rook pump to $600-800. I might just drop that shit. You know, I'm trying to be flexible. I'm not trying to be a bag holder. I'm trying to be about my dollars. You know, at the end of the day, dollars are king. Dollars are power. At the end of the day, this cycle is going to end at some point. I think that we have this last final exit on DeFi, whatever. Anyway, like I said earlier, my balls is hot. I got to get out of here. So, with that being said, hit that thumbs up, right? I know that's fucking stupid, but hit the thumbs up. You know, we're going to be doing these. Yeah. Gotta love the Black Beast. Fucking good dude. And very entertaining. Yeah, I think we're going to make it, but you got to be careful here, okay? Watch that yearly VWAP on Bitcoin. Everything's looking good so far. You know, any dump, obliterated, right? Just gets bought the fuck up. We're definitely trapping some shorts here. So be mindful of that. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Church. Please give me a like, follow our Hxro Labs channel. Catch me tomorrow on Delta Phi. That's our panel with myself, Dan Gunsberg, Rob Levy, and Random Task, our other analysts for Hxro Labs. I think that'll be a lot of fun. They're probably going to be busting my balls a little bit for being bearish at the bottom, but hey, you know, shit happens. We adjust, we evolve, we adapt. But that should be a really fun episode. Really good banter. The last episode was awesome. If you guys check that out, you know, we had a lot of fun on that. That's going to be tomorrow, 3 or 4 p.m. CST. Keep you guys updated on Cryptomessiah from that. Anyway, other than that, thanks for being here. Until next time, adios.